Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Okay, so you got Laura visiting Lulu, and eventually Dante comes in. He talks to Lulu for a little bit. They both update her on what's going on in their lives. Now, my takeaway from this whole scene, a few things. The biggest one is this is the problem with keeping her in this coma. I feel like at this point you either need to bring her back as a different actress or whatever, or kill her off. That's it. It's really just that simple because now it's just getting to a point where they even they're talking about from the show's point of view. The kids not even remembering, which is actually pretty sad. The times where she was up and active as opposed to the times she was there sleeping. And just in general, from the story's point of view, it's like, what do we need this character on there for? Like seriously, what do we need this character on there for if she's just gonna still be in a coma? The only thing that they could sit there and say is to attest to the stupidity of Laura Spencer. And I know she calls herself Laura. It's like Carly. I'm always going to call her Corinthos. But seeing her daughter in that hospital bed, and that's not including the times that she probably sees her off camera, and seeing her trying to give Cyrus a chance to form some sort of relationship is absolutely insane to me. Because every time you go to that place to see your daughter, you tell me you don't sit there and think about how she got in that bed in the first place? So that's the only thing that's actually doing for me. Now, granted, at this point, we don't know where the hell Cyrus is at, if he's coming back or anything like that, because they seem like that story, they just went way off the rails. He was going after Sonny, then he wanted to change his life around, and now we're not seeing him anymore. It's almost like the writers was like, whoa, we don't know what we're doing with this character. Let's just put him on ice for a little bit. Um, okay, so this scene with Trina and Jocelyn. There's a point, she's sitting there talking about like how long is this grief going to go on for? Like why can I not just move past this or anything like that? And I've said this before, and I sound like a broken record. And the reason why I'm sitting there saying this again is because Curtis sat there and said it months ago, and it's like it went in one ear and out the other. Therapy. Listen, I get it. It's not a cure-all. Grief is not going to just go away like that. It will hit you in unexpected places, like with the turtle dove. But they do give you tools to sit there and manage that. You know. Um, and also, it's a little kind of disappointing. I mean, yes, that's a normal part of her character, and I get that. But we've seen so little of her since they got Gio actually back into the show, and the only thing they could sit there and show us is her still being sad. And it's like they give her such bare bones when it comes towards her being on the show. It's like I'm not to say I want her to be partying up and living it up, but like at some point, I did like she used to. Let's put it this way: as Sydney Michaela and Tabby, one thing I liked when Tabby took over the role was that she smiled, she laughed. Um, and I missed that with that character. I mean, watching practically a whole hour of her sitting there talking about Spencer, like after a while, just like, um, and it's just like kind of the overall theme. And I'm gonna get to the other person in a second. This is kind of overall theme of today's episode. It's like they took a break from the stories, the different stories, except for like the Mac and Cody one, because that's still kind of spilling over. But like for the most part, they seem like they just took a break. And for Friday's episode to be something saying, eh, we got the other three soaps that are just sticking with that story. Ain't good. That's all I'm gonna sit there and say. It's not good. I mean, you have this random scene of Tracy asking Geo questions about what's the best pizza place to go, what's the best concert place to go, what's and just a bunch of other random. They're so random for somebody that one, they're just random questions. Two, these are questions that like should we be going to Brooklyn or the Bronx or knowing about the joke of no one goes to Staten Island or anything like why are we talking about this for? Why? Well, the only thing that was kind of funny, and I guess this is like their way of like an initiation, was when Tracy was like, you ought to be afraid of me. I mean, this is my house and everything. And of course, Jill was like, well, what are you talking about? This is Monica's house, Alan, your brother, the usual joke or whatever. And it's like, I mean, it was funny, but it was also just like, okay, I get it. That's just a little initiation into the court. Okay, yeah, I get it. But it's not a bad scene, right? I don't want to sit there and make anyone think that I'm trashing this scene. It's just a random scene that's just like, we could have took it or left it. I would have rather taken a scene where it would have got into her, his actual story or whatever potential storyline that they have for him, other than him just being hungry and eating a pizza and just randomly talking to Tracy. It was almost like yesterday when Cody and Tracy was talking. It wasn't a bad scene, but it was just like, hey. Now, speaking of Cody, James decided to take a ride share. I guess we can't call it an Uber. Take a ride share, unless they actually really do have ride shares out here that I don't know about, and go to Cody and pretty much kind of complain to him or tell him that Mac won't let him take riding lessons with him anymore. Which I'm just like, bro, listen. See, that's the thing. I get Mac's anger, his frustration and stuff like that, but for him, one, that's overstepping, right? Like, eventually Maxie does get there. Maxie's like, it's not up for Mac to decide on if you're going to be taking riding lessons from Cody and I. It's up to me. So the fact that he made that decision just without even speaking to her was like, bro, you overstepping. I know you're upset with Cody, but you overstepping. That's just bottom line. But he tells him all this stuff, and while Cody is more sad about the fact that like, he kind of caused this by the whole lies and everything like that. They're both also, and Tracy was there. Yeah, Tracy was there. But they're both just like, this was so dangerous. And I just hope that your mom is not freaking out at this point. Got the phone from Georgie and everything. Maxie comes, talks to him, just kind of tells him, hey, listen, we're just going to have to take a break for a little bit until I can figure out how to calm down Mac. So they go back, right? And Georgie gets there. You know, here's the thing about Georgie. Georgie is a hit or miss character with me. The whole, not Franco, but Austin, she annoyed the living piss out of me, right? She annoyed the living piss out of me from start to finish. And although, like, her comments was very smart mouth and everything like that, calling him a brat, constantly, like, jumping in and saying things, bottom line was, yeah, if she would have did what James did, she would have been grounded for a very long time. So I understood her frustration. Um, and, James is just saying, there's something that's weird going on. Like, he can pick up on the tension. So they talk to him, but they don't sit there and say, what is the tension about? They don't sit there and say Cody and Mac or anything like that. They're just like, well, it's grown up stuff, and I can't sit there and get into what it is, go to bed, and don't ever do that again. And that's literally the gist of the conversation. Um, yeah, more or less, that's pretty much the gist of the conversation. Now, remember, I said this yesterday, and I kind of got to jump a little ahead for a half minute about Jason and Carly kind of doing this preemptive celebration. And even throughout today's episode, they're like, well, now that the whole John case and the informant thing is behind us, we could sit there and try to fix things with Sonny and this, that, and the third. And I'm just like, what? Do you have anything in writing before you just sit there and start patting yourselves in the backs? Because when I see the previews, when they decided, oh, let's actually get back to the stories instead of whatever this episode's supposed to be, John is like, your days as far as an informant for me is far from over. So all they was that they're doing this whole time and drinking beers and just kind of hanging out and chilling and talking about future plans and what are you going to sit there and do this summer? It's like, y'all really jumped the gun, and it's baffling even for a character like Jason, who usually thinks ahead, who usually thinks a lot smarter than that. But having to be that wishful and just be like, oh, yeah, we're good now. What? But some of the stuff that they talked about, because they really was just kind of going off the rails, just like having these random discussions that didn't really go anywhere. But they talk about John helping Ava try to get Avery. Talking about how John has always hated Sonny for a while. But now that Sonny has just been doing things that's just been off kilt, now he has a chance to sit and go in. And that's why Jason's like, it's so important that I get back in and I can explain to him everything that's going on of why I did what I did. Now, whether he's going to listen or not, that really depends on the writers, because I'm going to be honest, the way they have been snitting handling this whole him not being on his meds up until the point has been great. But we've been seeing Sonny be way too calm, way too nice, not really as defensive as he was. And he's on a lower dose. He's on a lower dose, if not no doses at all. And yet he's still very calm, cool, and collective, like, for the most part. So I'm like, I mean, granted, that's all the Monday's episode, the previews, but I'm just like, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing with his character? So it's like, I have no idea. Is he going to actually flip out and get defensive, or is it just going to be a lot more calmer and more rational? I have no idea. Let me just check, see if there's anything else. Oh yeah, I forgot to sit there and say Sasha in this episode. After James and Spinelli and everyone left, you know, um, that's when Cody was like, he feels guilty because now this stuff is spilling down into James, and that's not fair for him to get caught up between this whole Cody and Mac situation. Anyway, I feel like that's pretty much about it. That is the gist of the episode, which was, yeah. I wouldn't sit there and recommend anyone watch this. I'm not saying this is a terrible episode, but like, an hour of your time or 30 minutes of your time, depending on if you're watching on DVR. If you want to sit there and play something else in the background, that's cool. You're not really missing much if you don't watch this episode. I'll sit there and put it that way. Anyway, if I missed anything, either write it down in the comment section or come to the last one tonight. 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll talk about all the shows, General Hospital, Days of Our Lives, Bold and the Beautiful, Young and the Restless. I'll see you in the next video.